What's the difference between men and women in a workplace?
Women are more in tune with the personal side of the workplace.
Good at listening.
The high level of emotional intelligence.
Good at empathising with others.
Good at multitasking.
More willing and able to work on a peer-to-peer basis.
Wonderful coaches for other people.
It's such a hard question to answer because every time you say something general, you can immediately think of 6 individual examples which completely disprove it.
Give her to somebody else. I ask for a man.
We don't have a man with her qualifications.
There's a gallery downstairs of photographs of past chairmen of the Arts Council, starting with Maynard Keynes, and they are all men.
You know, women workers can be surprisingly good producers.
Women have been quite present in heritage and museums for, I suppose, for quite a long time. I think, though, it's only more recently that they've risen to the surface in terms of directors' roles or heads of service roles.
There's so many females in very key positions within the museum sector.
I'm curious about what is there about cultural heritage that actually allows women to find a pathway through to those leadership positions.
Women in the heritage industries have actually got quite well organised. They formed a network, they mentor each other, they've got this problem in their sights and they're actually doing something about it together, which is excellent.
The most valuable things are when particular problems, particular things that are worrying you, can be discussed with a peer in confidence.
I suspect there is another reason, and that is that many jobs in heritage are extremely low paid. And I think low-paid jobs do end up having a disproportionate number of women.
Certainly at the sort of medium and start level, there are an enormous number of women often working for very little money or as volunteers.
Because pay and salaries are so low, you don't have the disposable income that a lawyer might have to pay for a nanny to take care of your child for 2 hours before you get home at 7. Or you know, somebody to go out and sort of do your laundry or cleaning and those types of things.
If you love the arts, it's not a 9 to 5, 10 till 6 job. It's very much all-consuming. And I've been out with the artists for dinner on numerous occasions. It's amazing. I love it. You have wonderful conversations. But yeah, if you have a family, there is always that feeling that you do have to actually clock off and go home.
There are still breakfast meetings that start at 7:30. There are still events that go on till midnight.
It involves more than an average amount of juggling. And I think it'll be women that hold themselves back slightly from those very top jobs, because I think the museum sector has become quite healthy. There are more women in senior roles in the medium to smaller organisations, because I think those sacrifices and compromises just become the greater when you start running, you know, an organisation with 400 to 600 staff.
Once women get to sort of middle manager level and they decide to have a family, they're sort of out of the sector for a little while, and it might be difficult for them to get back in and sort of get to those high levels.
If you're going to go up that, you know, to climb that ladder, it doesn't come easily and it doesn't come without making sacrifices. You know, not always, you know, staying where you want to stay geographically or not being able to spend the time that you want to spend on your other personal priorities, whether it's family or hobbies or whatever it is.
I think it's about time we woke up.
I think if we can find working environments which are less macho, less driven towards a kind of competitive, hard-earning, hard-living culture, where the fact that we have outside lives is absorbed into that, then you'll get a much greater success rate.
There is always a need for a blunt instrument of legislation to come along and say, you shall offer, you know, X years of maternity leave and Y job sharing opportunities and all of that. But in the end, I mean, those things are necessary because they make the direction of travel.
And here at the Whitworth, for example, we've got quite a number of people, male and female now, on 3-day contracts or 2-day contracts, and the university supports them in this.
We have a policy here where all staff are encouraged to bring in their babies because we love them so much. And so to make that an easy thing for people to do, I think then encourages women to be able to sustain careers.
I think the world of work now understands that they employ not robots, they employ human beings with lives.
It's quite refreshing to come into this industry to be encouraged from, you know, the female perspective, to know that you can go into whichever department you like, to know that you can, we've got women at director level.
I think as a young woman now, you'd find quite a few good role models. 20 years ago, I don't believe that was the case. In terms of senior positions, well, within the last 6 months, there have been 3 women recruited to National Museum Directors' jobs, the Imperial War Museum, the Royal Armouries and the Science Museum. So I think there is some progress there to be celebrated.
If women are to get further ahead, people need to take risks and employ women. Don't just assume that the hard work had been done and now we've just got to wait for the female leaders to suddenly appear. It doesn't happen like that. It needs to be constantly nurtured and supported to allow those women to get into those positions. And I think the next 10 years or so is going to be a particularly challenging period for that.